History, quick. No. By the way, where are we chatting? Like voice chat. Okay. In here. Hi. Hello, it's Edson. Good evening.
Good day.
Is there anyone else that we are looking for as well in here? Or there were some guys that were trying to join, right? You were saying. One sec. Who was it? Ronin and Old Analytics, I guess.
Yeah, the Channels Online teams.
Who's Ronin? Does he have access to this?
Ronin's one of the guys working on Go. You might not have access to this. We'll have to drag him in.
He's a contributor, I think. I saw him.
If I can ping him somewhere. Wow, there are literally 4 people called Ronin on this server. He's the one with the wing,
Yes.
I imagine, right?
Yeah, he's a contributor, so he should have access, I think, to this channel.
Double check. Otherwise, I'll just give him direct access. I think we'll do that.
Oh, there we go. That's the right Ronin.
Oh, hello. And that's it? Then we're good to go? Is there anyone else that we need? Is Antipro supposed to be here as well?
I honestly don't know. It would have helped if there had been an announcement, event. That's it. Could have at least seen who was actually aiming to join.
Yeah, originally I proposed this meeting. So technically I am the organizer. I mean, I don't have a strict agenda or anything. My main suggestion would have been to talk a bit about like immediate goals to try get to a state which would be suitable for a first release candidate. Because right now what I'm seeing is that we do a lot of things, but a lot of minor things as well, right? So like we already tackled a lot of the critical issues. There's still some criticals left. There's a lot of Gentoo features left that we need to replicate or fixes. And we do some things on the side. So like from my part, I see that I don't really know what to focus on. Like specifically, I always see more work. So the more I work, I see more, and it never ends really. I just go from this to this, and it just keeps on going forever. I do look at the Gentoo features, what to replicate and what big issues there might be, but I also work on minor things, right? So yeah, so maybe the question is, do we want to have someone figure out what exactly is left to do to reach our release? Can we somehow delegate people to specific tasks instead of having everyone work on random things, so to say? So like we are getting work done, but it's all over the place, right?
Yeah, I think we just have to find a way to synchronize. I think there are a few key things that still need to be done and some things that are sort of already done-ish. So the Gentoo features, the vast majority of them at least, are going to be something that people will want, I imagine. So I imagine that that's one of the first things that would need to be done. And then also the GenHub launcher in a basic state, but at least that it functions. And that is something else that is required. And then theoretically, I would say we can go for release, right? And we can maybe synchronize with Generals Online. I don't know how that would tie into it. I think Undead might know better on how that would work. But yeah, I think Generals Online as a project is just a lot further in its completion, its state of completion. It's already, released and works and whatever. Whereas for the first community patch, I would imagine it's still better if we get the Gen tool features in there, right?
Yeah, so I mean, certainly medium, long term, it will be desirable to have to be able to also connect players on from our core release to Generals Online. So that would be good. Otherwise, the users can just use the Go client to connect there, and then if they would want to play network matches, then they would have to use a different client. But ideally, it's like one thing that can do everything, right? That'd be the best case. But this would require work. I don't think it will be easy tasks, just like a weekend work, and then it's all migrated to our code base. I expect it's a lot of work, and if we want this soonish, then this work would need to start soonish as well. Yeah.
Yeah, from what I know of talking with Daniels, the two biggest things that kind of hold back Go being integrated into the main client is Steam, the Steam sockets library and libcurl, and whether we can compile them in VC6 or not, or if we can't and they're actually just compiled as DLLs, if VC6 code can access those DLLs or not.
Yeah, if they're compiled as DLLs, it should work. It's just a DLL import. That's fine.
Yeah, as long as the function signatures can be read by VC6 code, it should be okay. So yeah, apart from that, it's I guess a lot of it is just putting some sanity into the online side and the changes needed there, because a few of them touch deeper into the engine at the same time, and it's not just on the new networking side, as they call it. So I think Daniels kind of needs to have a bit of a look through that as well, just checking where things are being altered or not. And it doesn't affect the LAN side at all. So for people playing over admin, it would be perfectly fine. It's just that it's not as straight, clean cut as being, it's just a direct replacement for where GameSpy hooked into the engine.
Yeah, so my impression is that Generals Online is currently in a phase where they are not afraid of breaking and pushing breaking changes to the users, right? So they have a different approach to what we probably envision. We probably want to have like major releases and have like good confidence that they are stable, right? And then that users can use them like confidently for a long time and not run into new issues. And right now, I'm pretty confident that our main branch is pretty stable and no big new issues. As far as I'm aware, when we have issues, we fix them pretty quick, but things seem to be pretty stable. So I do hope that if Generals Online is pushed to us, that it can also maintain like a stable state and not break features of the original game. So that would be my only ask, that it strives to be stable. Yeah. So that things are properly tested before it goes into main branch. Yeah.
Yeah, most of what they've been working on over the past couple of weeks is just getting stable netcode. There's been a lot of issues with latency and run-ahead problems, and that's kind of where my latest pull request came from, because some of those changes helped fix those issues, and they just generally improve that networking side of the code. But in general, it is more stable now, and they're starting to look at adding more online features, which were currently missing, because at the moment they've just tried to have just basic functionality, essentially, and just looking for stability in those online connections. So I think the things that they're looking at working on next are a lot of the matchmaking features, and there's also online communications, friends, and other bits and pieces which are there from the original GameSpy, but they're just not currently implemented in Go at the moment. But then, of course, we need to have a good look over the code in general, just to make sure that it's just implemented in a sane way.
Yeah, I would imagine that it's by now quite a bit of code, so it could be a considerable amount of work to review all this, right? And like we would be the first who review this. As far as I'm aware, there's no peer review process at all in Journals Online. It's just one person that pushes to main branch, right? So it could be a lot of work then on all sides. Yeah.
Yeah, most of it has just been Daniels or x64, essentially just fixing things, bug fixes going out on sometimes a daily basis as they've been testing in the evenings. So the entire history is pretty messy, so we wouldn't want to just merge the history as it is. We would want to do a complete clean look over of what's there and make a single pull request out of what changes are needed, if anything.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think this needs to be driven by Journals Online people. Like, we don't have capacity for this to do it ourselves, and also not the knowledge. So, like on my end, I'm totally occupied with engine and game, and like I can't do more. So I wouldn't be able to attend. I can do reviewing, but I wouldn't be able to do any integrations from Journals Online.
Yeah, that's fair. I can have a chat with Daniels later on about it, so we can try and get something together to understand what changes have been made, what is required for actually doing that porting. Some of the changes that I've recommended, I'm going to start backporting into the main client now, ones which aren't game breaking and they're retail compatible at the same time. So that's where some of the network latency tweaks are going to start appearing as pull requests.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Journals Online, I think it's fine if Journals Online, like if the game goes into this online lobby, that there is functionality in there that breaks retail compatibility, because it's an exclusive lobby, right? So we don't need to care there about connecting to retail clients, right? So if there's some divergence of functionality and it's gated, that it doesn't bleed into network, then it should be perfectly fine if there are discrepancies. But yeah, it shouldn't bleed into single player and network lobby, then it's fine. Yeah. So so regarding the workload for our first release, so I know that Red versus Blue, he tried to like build like what's it called, roadmaps, so to say, right? But we didn't really look at it. Maybe we need some management person who is hand holding the programmers and like helps programmers to steer them into desired directions. I mean, it's good that we have many programmers who are self-motivated and they find the work themselves. Plus, we have a huge catalog of issues, right? So there certainly is no shortage of work, but I do see that we work on things that are not necessary. Like, for example, the plain stuff with a deterministic takeoff order, right? Because this is like retail incompatible work, so it really does not matter at all right now. But it takes time to implement this, to review this, right? So it takes time away. I don't want to criticize this work because in the end, it's still beneficial for the game as a whole, right? But it's not important at the moment. And I do see on my own, I also make the mistake of doing probably things that are not very important right now. Yeah, so if we have like, my hope was that Red versus Blue is like chasing these things and makes like good plans, but I haven't seen him in a while. Maybe we need someone else who can do project management. My impression is that Old Analytics is like the project manager for Generals Online, and it seems to work well. So we need someone who, like him, on our team who leads a team in
I was
management.
thinking to try to bring Pret into such a role because he's together working with Antipro on the communication side. So I was thinking maybe Antipro can handle the stuff externally and Pret can do the stuff internally, if that makes sense.
Yeah, is he interested in such a thing? Like, it needs a lot of time investment, right?
I tried bringing it to him, but his biggest fear was that he doesn't understand the technical details. But I don't think that's necessarily needed because RVB also didn't really go into the technical details. Someone just needs to have a general overview and knows like which points need to be ready.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to have understanding of the game. Yeah, and he needs to understand the tasks, like what they say, what they imply, right? Like if we have like a bug report or a task, then he would need to understand the context of it and what it implies, and maybe also have a little bit of understanding of the complexity of certain things. Yeah, but certainly he doesn't need the knowledge of a programmer. That's not necessary.
Yeah, it's a shame that he's not here because then he could have weighed in himself. But
Yeah, but maybe there are also other people who would be up for such a thing. I think the biggest points for these kind of things is A, having the time for it, and B, having the passion for it. If you have these two things, time and passion, you can do anything, really, right? So like you don't need a background in anything, you just need to be interested in this, because if you spend time, you automatically get into this kind of thing. So we just need people who are interested in doing things and just want to keep following up on it. Then it will get done.
Yeah, I think at the moment we don't have too many people like that at this stage. I personally am really busy as it is. I'm struggling already to do the other things related to Outpost Live and stuff, which is right now a big time sink for us. Arctic, I imagine something similar. Tanso and Lemon, in my opinion, would both be great guys, but of course, a lot of time is expected. So, it's up to them. For the rest, I don't really see that many active people who could fill that role, unfortunately. I mean, actually, okay, this is maybe a bit of a wild one. Arctic, you might be able to answer this one, but what do you think about Blitz?
I think he'd be interested, but I don't know how reliable he is. That's the
Okay,
thing.
so I'm sure most of you guys don't really know him, but he has this kind of he's a good guy on the whole, but he does have that attitude where he sometimes cracks out the whip and says, "Stop complaining, do this, do that." So that might actually work. And he is someone who has a lot of time, and he is always looking forward to like new changes with the patch and stuff. But he's actually much more casual in the community. So this would be the first sort of more serious role he would take. I can ask him. I mean, he of course still needs to say yes. But he could be someone who could do it potentially. Or maybe WhatsApp. But I'm not sure if he's willing to put in all the time. I don't know. I guess we could ask, right? But Arctic, what do you think about Blitz? Because I think he's probably the closest to someone who might actually say, sure, I'll have a look.
Yeah, Blitz might be a good one.
He
Indeed.
has very little knowledge about anything related to programming or IT. He has a very light knowledge of game bugs, but he knows what he likes. So, so if he's like, "Hey, want to see this patch?" He'll be like, "Okay, what's needed? Let's get that done," and he will repetitively message people. So I guess that's already a bit of the requirement then, right? Pidux, yeah, that's a good suggestion from Joker, but Yeah, he's got the World Series, and that goes on until September. No, more, right? End of October.
Oh, I know somebody with
November.
buckets of time. He's recently made a comeback to this server.
Who?
No, it's a terrible idea.
Who?
Mr. CC Gogeta.
Oh, shut up.
Not even as a joke, man. Hold on.
He has plenty of time.
I mean, we could maybe. There's also Targaryen, maybe, but I guess he's more of a player.
Yeah, I think we're getting desperate with the people, to be honest. Like, the suggestions are not that great in my
We
opinion.
ran into the same issue trying to find people for Outpost Live. It's
Yeah.
everybody's busy. Everybody has things to do at the moment.
Also, I would advocate that this should be a person who is really professional and not driven by emotions and the player attitudes and flaming and being a nuisance. So there's always this risk, and there are people who are a nuisance and these kinds of things. So I would hope that we don't engage with that. So right now, I'm happy that we don't have people here who push like odd things. So
Are there any people you would like to suggest, Zazon, for this position?
I don't know. My hope was that Red versus Blue would do this, but he doesn't have the time for it. So, but
he doesn't have time.
He seemed very competent to me, and he has a deep voice, so that gives authority already, right? So I don't know. It needs to be someone who has a lot of passion and time for this game. That's it. Yeah, and
It might sound a bit odd coming from me, but would Dominator be someone that could fill this?
No. He'll run away with his own ideas.
Yeah, I mean, he also, I mean, if they go too crazy, then of course the developers will already push back on their own. That's why I'm thinking it's sort of.
Yeah, but it needs to be someone who helps and stimulates and progresses, not keeps the developers on their toes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, so a Dominator is very passionate about this game, and I think he has good visions. But yeah, I mean, I did have a lot of interactions with them in the history, and also with other players, and there have been frustrating experiences. So I know from experience that it's not so easy. He's more a player and a presenter of the game. He's not a developer, right? So it needs to be someone who's closer to development or testing, right? So for example, Goldfish is very good with testing the game, right? Because he really likes breaking the game and figuring out all the bugs. So you can see that Goldfish is very good for testing things, right? And Dominator is very good for presenting how to get the game running and the pro tips and all these kind of things. And yeah, we need someone who is good at managing and guiding development goals. Yeah, I mean it's not the project doesn't fail if we don't have this, but I think it would be helpful. Yeah.
And what about Salmanko? I don't know him too well, but I do see him active from time to time.
I don't know him. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we are lucky and someone comes by that naturally does these kinds of things. I don't know. Maybe you just put the job position out there and then someone applies to it. You could handle it like a company website, and then have open job listings and then describe the role, and then maybe someone clicks on it and identifies with that role and then says, yeah, why not? Let's reach out. So maybe just presenting open position somewhere visible would already be a start.
Joker has a suggestion. Joker is typing fiercely. Guess. I mean, he's motivated. The only problem is that sometimes he's not the most informed, but he's definitely motivated. Mr. Martin Peters.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing. He sometimes makes some assumptions, and based on that assumptions, he forgets that he's previously assumed it, and then just at some point assumes it's a fact, and he can be wrong at times, which can make things a bit difficult at times. But on the whole, the moment like it's corrected, and it's like, okay. But he is very motivated, and he really wants to do something in the community as well, I think. Oh, he's not
Yeah.
active?
He's been gone for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I don't know where
Ah.
he is. I haven't seen him around in the last 2 weeks. Oh, okay.
Okay, so apart from that, I mean, like the big things right now, like for example, we still need to tackle the higher camera for the widescreen, right? This is a big item, and there are probably a bunch of others of this caliber. Like we need the camera control options to pitch the camera, and
Scroll thing.
yeah, so some kind of these things, and yeah, I mean, we won't be able to replicate some of the features. The good thing is, so with the VC6 release, Gen2 will be compatible as is. So the upload mode will at least still work, and the JPEG screenshot and so on. So some of the baseline Gen2 features will still work, and like all the features that required injecting into the executable, those we need to replicate. One big concern I have is all the stuff about the replay spectating. That one seems to be quite tricky because this ghost object code is pretty strange. So that has been a bit of a challenge. Yeah, so the map pack detection that is in Gentoo, that doesn't need to be replicated because basically the only reason why this map pack detection worked is because the map packs were kind of primitive implemented, where players were able to click things in the fog. But I expected newer generations of hacks, which can now be built with the open source. They can build it in much smarter ways, where these old techniques that Gentoo used, they will no longer work. Right, so I don't think it's worth to replicate this kind of stuff. Yeah, so we still need to do some big things, but yeah, once we have this, I think we can start thinking about preparing a release then for both Generals and Zerawa. We probably need some testing as well before releasing. So let's say we can branch off, release branch, and then we hand this out to more players and ask them, here, install this and just play your regular matches, right? Since it's retail compatible, you can just use that and play your regular online games, and then just test and then see if anything is broken. And if we don't find anything, then this could be good for a first release. Once we have all the major fixes and features in that we want for the first release. But we don't know right now which these are, because we didn't make a roadmap for exactly what should be in there. We just have too many issues, and we don't have any clear roadmap where we say we need this done, and if we have this done, our release candidate is ready. We don't have this, and maybe we need that. Otherwise, we just keep working, and more things get in there, more good things, but we may never get it done, right? So, yeah, maybe we need a person. So maybe this person that you reach out to that is interested in this kind of role, this would be the first task for them to figure out what should be in the first release, and then present that to a bigger audience, that proposal of what should be in there. and then come to an agreement, and then we sign that off, and then we work towards that exact list. And when that all is done, then we have our release candidate.
Well, I don't really think it's too much that needs to be added on the list. It's mostly just the Gentoo features. You're saying that map hack detection then won't be part of it. I'm not. I understand your point of if we put it in, then they'll just make better hacks, but that means that there's literally no way of checking whether someone has map hack, right?
Well, you can still boot the retail game with Gentoo and play back the replay with map hack detection.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Fair point. Yeah. Okay. Then we could just say that as, if people want that, just boot up the original. Because it's not like people are going to check all the freaking time whether someone has map hack.
Yeah, you can. I mean, with GenHub, we can make it easy to launch the game in different modes, right? So you have retail plus Gentool installation, and you just boot that up. Otherwise, you boot up the community patch version. So for the user facing with GenHub, it should be easy to select these different things, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I will have some time off work in September, so I might increase productivity on my end. Well, I would most likely, definitely increase productivity.
Because at least take some time off for yourself, though.
Yeah, no breaks. I will take a break when the game is fixed. So in 5 years, 10 years maybe, yeah. Then I take a break. No, I think we should certainly strive towards the first release. Dominator did give the feedback that the first release that it should have like all the bells and whistles of Generals Online. I don't know if that will be feasible. Like, for example, the 60 logic tick rate thingy. That certainly is not retail compatible, but certainly in the mid to long term, it certainly will be desirable to be able to switch between different modes, right?
I think having
sure.
a retail compatible build that is fixed as much as it can be while still being retail compatible is, I think, a really nice thing to have, because that means that all these mod builders right now who have based their game off of the what they know, their mods will be easier to port to our new builds.
I mean, even after our first release, we can still keep going and still keep building retail compatible builds for as long as adoption is low, and we can add more fancy features which are only available in retail incompatible matches, right? So it will be possible to implement new features, including the higher logic tick rates that are selectable on runtime, right? So that you can join the classic retail compatible game with a 30 logic tick rate, but then if you join Generals Online, it switches on the fly to 60 or 45, something in between or higher, right? So we can still build new functionality and still support retail compatibility. We already do this sort of, so we already have some things which are retail incompatible. But that's on compile time. But it would be possible to have things work better on runtime in one mode over the other, right? So it is possible. It's just more work because we always need to support the legacy compatibility. Yeah, but the goal, as we are aware, is that it should help onboarding, right? To get the people into the new ecosystem, which hopefully works. Yeah.
Well, I don't think the 60 hertz is a necessity. The biggest letdown for everyone out there, if you go on Reddit or whatever, the biggest thing is the mismatches and the game crashes. No one is saying like, "Oh, I want the game to run smoother." Okay, there are some who say it, but the vast majority is just like, "I want to be able to play the game to begin with." So if the patch focuses on that and most of the Gen tool features are in there, like you're saying, then a release is, I would say, good to go, and people will be happy. And yeah, I get it. You know, the 60 hertz is nice, and some people are getting used to it, so they want to keep that. So as long as Generals Online can still be installed either through GenHub or, like you're suggesting, comes somehow packaged in a way where it swaps, then yeah, everyone will be happy. But I don't think the 60 hertz thing or features like that are a necessity for the first release.
Yeah, I agree with that. It would be nice to have, but it's not critical. Yeah.
Yeah, in
The other
terms of
thing we need to think of, and I kind of wish the Generals Online people were here, is once we do go live with Generals Online, right now I think the backend that they're building is not open yet, right? So how do we integrate with that? That's the other thing I kind of am missing a timeline on how far they are with that.
Sorry, who was your question for?
Oh, not really a question per se, because nobody from Generals Online is here, but more and more a comment. Like, we kind of are dependent on them to let us integrate with them at the moment.
Yeah, but they
Because
want to integrate, no?
their backend is still not open, right?
No.
So it's all completely a proprietary thing still.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big concern right now in the short term. Like whenever they release this thing, then it's up to them. Like I think from our perspective, if our game client can just connect to Generals Online, then this is all we care for, right? We don't care like how they run their server. Like it's up to the player if he wants to go there, right? And obviously we have an interest that that we have one server for the community that is run well and that is stable and all these things, right? But I don't think we need to care about right now and worry about this. It's up to them to get this running. And so from our side, we just make sure that the client is not breaking interacting with Generals Online in any way from our side, right? So, and I mean, technically, we could also support CNC Online plus Generals Online, right? So that it can technically connect to both, right? And then a mod could opt in into this or into that server. I don't think there's much value in CNC Online other for testing purposes to see like, okay, did it work the same in the GameSpy lobby as it does in Generals Online, like to compare like how these things work. I think for that could be useful, but other than this, I do hope that we go to Generals Online in the future and have just one server where all the players for all the different community projects go to. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think CNC Online is has much of a future left. LAN will work, you said, right? The LAN thing. So with Radmin and stuff, it will work, right, Setson?
Yes, of course, because LAN is entirely decentralized, right? So there's no like central authority that has a monopoly over this thing. Like if you just can create a local area network, then this thing just works. And I think that's one of the great things. Like, the game is a prime example of how decentralization should work, right? And I think it's good that with GenHub we go into the same direction, and maybe Generals Online could also go more into this direction instead of like having a centralized service, but also thinking about steps to decentralize things. so that the community as a whole owns the server and not just one entity that pays for the server, right? So yeah, but yeah, networking will work the same.
And Game Ranger?
Yeah, Game Ranger and Redman and so on. Yeah.
The thing that I find kind of dangerous about Game Ranger is we need to make sure that it recognizes the executable. So we cannot. I don't know how GenHub is going to be structured, because I know Game Ranger is kind of tricky with recognizing the some certain paths.
Oh, you mean for Steam?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got to use like a symlink or some weird solution. That's what GenPatcher does to get it working.
So GenHub would need to do the same. But the problem
Yeah.
is, if we're going to have different editions of the game with different executables, well, how is Game Ranger going to track those? Right. So we need to have some sort of proxy launcher that is then proxying flexibly.
So if there are technical hurdles, then I suggest to communicate these and open reports for them. And then we try to figure out what the best solution for this is, either by changing something in the client, well, most likely by changing something in the client. So like, if Game Ranger expects a certain setup, then we can try to accommodate that. Since Game Ranger is perfectly able to launch the proxy launcher, we know that it can launch custom executables. It doesn't require this one specific executable. But yeah, there could be some quirks, and then we just need to identify what it is, create a report, and then we figure out the solution. Right now, I'm not aware about any, so you would need to raise it. Yeah.
But I imagine that
In Game Ranger, I don't think
yeah,
like there's only 3 stages for this. I think that I see regarding Game Ranger. One of them being like we don't change much. We just use the main directory and then it launches from there, and it's not much hacking around it. Second is we make it work using the custom workspace system that we have. And the third stage is basically that depends on how far we get there with the GenHub, but that Game Ranger no longer is needed. That like every peer-to-peer connection is directly handled by the launcher itself. So this is like the 3 stages for regarding Game Ranger itself that we can look at how to implement. So it's depending on which stage we are at currently and how urgent it's going to be. We have to look at which strategy to implement for that current stage. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think any issues with Game Ranger could be handled through GenHub, right? GenHub is going to be a sort of GenPatcher alternative / the future of it that would implement these kind of fixes, right?
Basically.
Yes, but only things that the game client should not fix. So we need to figure out whose responsibility it is to accommodate some quirk that arises. It could be GenHub and it could be game client.
In terms of the game client working with Game Ranger, it already works with it. Most of the problems tend to be just getting Game Ranger to select the right executable.
Yeah, but that can be done with GenHub then.
Yeah. Some of it's just renaming the what is it? There's a path file which points to the game data file instead of the executable, and some of the guys have found that renaming that to Generals.exe and then renaming the Super Hackers client to the same thing tends to let them launch the game through Game Ranger perfectly fine.
Yeah, that's what GenPatcher does. What GenPatcher does is it creates a symlink to avoid the whole Steam apps thing in the URL, because that's literally the problem. Game Ranger is just blocking the moment it says Steam apps in the path. It just blocks the executable. So there's a symlink, and then for a split second, GenPatcher sets the game installation path to be that symlink. Then it restarts Game Ranger. Game Ranger finds the game, and then it switches it back. And then Game Ranger, because it detected the game before, it will remember it. And that's the solution. It's very simple, very basic. I'm sure we can do something along those lines with GenHub. and then that's a problem sorted. So it's not something that super hackers has to worry about or something like that, or anyone really. There was also Pret who wanted to discuss the video script or something of Antipro. The changes made, I think, are in red, and he's already added in starting the video with "This is not going to be a balance change thing." So that's good. Do you guys have any comments on the video script of Antipro? The video is going to make. Well, okay, that rounds off that topic, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't look at the second revision, so I can't comment on this. Yeah, well, it's okay. I don't really want to engage much in this anyway. Like for development, it's not critical path. So yeah, I think Antipro can do whatever he likes, I guess. But yeah, hopefully it's accurate. Yeah, I looked over the first revision and added some comments.
Yeah, he made some changes. I think he just incorporated the comments. And
I think, I think for players, it's typically always the best if they can like actually see the product. I don't think like making announcements is like the main thing to communicate things. Players like to experience it and see it, right? And then they can make their opinion of it, right? And since we never had a release, I mean, I've been working on this stuff since 4 years now, and I never made a release in that regard, but always working. So, players don't know really what all has been done because there never was a release, right? But I think as soon as there is a product and it's pushed, then I think it's also clearer what this is about because they can actually see it. So I don't think it's super important, but it has been requested, so I think it's good if it's served. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't have anything else from my side. Is there anything anyone else wants to discuss?
I think the one thing that I was going to consider bringing up was about Outpost Live itself, and it's kind of talked about in the past about maybe having a test client for people to play with. Did we want to consider what minimal features we need for that? Because the main ones that I would say are just the pathfinding fixes and the camera fixes, essentially. Apart from that, the game is pretty playable if people want to just play with it.
Well, you kind of have a problem there because if the game is too identical to the original, then people will be like, it's the same. Well, I'm not seeing any different. And if it's too different from the original, they'll say, this is a new game. What the hell? So I think this was mentioned before as well at some point somewhere, just in casual conversation. But I suspect, just my feeling, just one person's opinion, I think it's better if you do things like interviews and explain what is different, because if you showcase it, then there's not really something you can explain like or showcase where it's like, look, it crashes a lot less. Unless you start adding stuff, there's not that much to visually show in game, right? But then if you add stuff, people will say, this isn't generals that I recognize. So I would prefer going down the route of more interviews, discussions, and making points, and then maybe having some B-roll footage of certain scenarios where something would happen and now it's a bit different. Or are you already talking about like balance-related changes?
No.
From my perspective, people are asking a lot about the patch, right? So I was thinking more like, what if we show people what it looks like at this point in time, right? Satisfy that curiosity. And if they're like, well, nothing changed, well, then it's then that's confirmation for them that we're not working on balance changes. I mean, it makes people feel better to actually touch it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but if
Right.
it's the exact same, the first thing they will say is like, "Is this really the patch? Because I'm not noticing any different." You know.
I mean, that's the same thing every year when Apple brings out a new iPhone. Nothing changed, and still everybody's excited.
Yeah, but we don't exactly have the mind share yet of Apple. Not yet. We don't have people tattooing Generals Online logos on their shoulders yet. So, or the Super Hackers logo on their butt cheek.
Yeah, the game only crashed because you were holding it wrong.
Yeah. No, but the thing is, I think it's fun to have a lot of the devs there and have them kind of be in the spotlight and bring some attention to it. But I imagine, again, it's just my opinion. It's just all open to discussion, of course. Just if you have a showcase that players just won't really notice a difference. If you have some examples, like what you could maybe do is take something that basically almost always crashes. Like, for example, DEFCON Mayhem, it's the map where all units are Vet3, all units build almost instantly, and all buildings almost build instantly, right? That one is notorious for crashes and things. If you then say, let's do an 8-player version of this and everyone has a long name, right? Then you will tick a lot of boxes where the normal retail game is very much most likely going to crash, right? So you could showcase and say, look how stable, no issues, so many units going about, no crashes. That would be like a potential where you could showcase it. But if you were to say, here are 2 PCs, go play a 1v1, I think people will just get confused. They'll be like, I'm not noticing any difference. Is this something to get excited about? They would just not see why it's a good thing. In my opinion, because a lot of the people also are noobs.
Okay, so we are talking now about publishing strategies, right? So right now the narrative is you install GenPatcher and apply its fixes. You install GenTool to get those things. You maybe install the control bar add-on, and then you're ready to go, right? So we would need to build a new narrative. Okay, scrap all these things and just go to GenHub and go there. So yeah, it's a matter of communicating that these things are obsolete now and the new things are hot. You can make a trailer thing, right? Like 1 minute, 2 minute trailer that shows like nice big text of like, now this, fix this, stable, no crashes, no mismatches, amazing experience, higher performance, things like this, right?
Yeah, but that means the release will have to be in a number of weeks.
You mean it has to what? Say again.
If you want to, because you're saying this should happen during Outpost Live, right? That people would start using this, or
Oh
what?
no, in general.
In general.
So
yeah, okay.
So to me, it sounds like you're talking about release strategy, publishing.
No, just for Outpost Live
Oh.
showcasing during the LAN event.
Oh.
I was just talking about having a showcase client that people could try out.
I see. Uh-huh.
Like a pre-release thing.
Okay. You want to have some showcasing in the... Okay, I see. Yeah, sounds good. I mean, I don't know about your schedules, but I can also try to make it to the event physically, yeah, in person. So I could be available to talk things. I think Maula, Sky Aero is coming, I think. So there will be some people. And
Yeah, I think it'd be great.
Then we could talk about this and yeah. I mean, people are already aware about developments, right? It's not like that we are working in the shadows. Like people are aware about things. Like the source code release was a huge event. It generated a really a lot of buzz. So players are aware that things are being developed. I still get a lot of views on my development videos. I do have people asking in my comment section, when will it be released, right? So players are eager to get hands on it, and I never answer because I don't have an answer. So yeah, I think once we have a product, and it's usable and good, then people will, with word of mouth, will get there. And then it's just a matter of making sure they stay in Gen Hub, right? That they don't venture off, because then they miss the updates and all these things. So we need to make Gen Hub inviting and give it a good first experience. Yeah. And then
Yeah, for sure.
and then it will take time. I mean, it's the same with Gentool. I didn't promote Gentool or anything much. I mean, I posted things about it in the forums, but I never ran campaigns on it, right? It just was there, and over time, over years, it just got adopted. And my expectation is, if we roll out patches, that it's the same thing in the end. It just needs to be a good product. That's it.
Yeah, no, for sure. But Setson, if you're coming to Outpost Live and Mauler, whoever's coming, would you guys be up for like an interview, literally on the live stream stuff? We can, write the questions up front. Maybe already, like I said, we get some footage of showcasing some things and show that on a live stream. So that's something you guys would be interested in? It's mostly to promote the patch and show it in a good light, of course. And also to kind of, get people, see the people behind the projects as well, and give you guys some very well-deserved attention as well. Positive for sure, 100%. People will love it.
Yeah, I mean, you can think about how we can present it. I mean, for me, I don't need a script. I can just talk, so it's not a problem.
Yeah, it'd be fine with me. I'm going to be there for the 3 days, so I've got plenty of time.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know if who's coming from the Generals Online team, if there's anyone.
I think Old Analytics said he's
he
going to join.
he was thinking about coming.
All right, but he had to drive or something, right?
No, something about his wife. He needs his wife to sign off, and that he doesn't know yet when
Or a
that's going to
dog?
happen.
His
Or a
dog?
dog or something.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, CSCHD managed to figure it out with his cat this year, so I'm sure Old Analytics can figure it out with his dog.
Yeah, but he said his dog had an operation or something, or needed an operation, so it might be a little more complicated. But but yeah, I think Arctic, we should probably draw up maybe a sheet of people who we could get on the interview and stuff, and see how we can do it best. What do you think? When's our next Outpost Live meeting?
Brad?
Brad. Yeah. Well, it's something worth discussing.
I think next week, Saturday, if I had to guess.
Yeah. But I do think it will be nice and fun as well to do that. All right. Well, if that's it, then I'll probably be heading off, unless there's anything else.
Well, I have one question. So regarding first release, I noticed something that a lot of people who play Generals Online keep mentioning. It's the edge scrolling that you fixed.
They want to be able to unfix it.
Basically, they don't like it because when they're aggressively scrolling and they're into the match, so sometimes they're already scrolling and they hit the edge, and then it gets stuck in the edge because you're already scrolling. Then it messes up the entire flow where you're scrolling basically. So they just want something to undo it.
Yeah, I am aware about this. I have a task open. I just merged a change to disable it when the cursor capture is off, and I will make another change to have an option to turn it to control it. Yeah.
That's perfect. That's about it for me, actually.
Yeah, so the main thing is that we're gonna have to find a guy who's gonna help steer things to a release, right? That was the main sort of.
I mean, could it also be a group of people instead of one person, so that they're also
Nah, that
diversified in their
never
knowledge?
works. That never works because then one person will think that the other person's picking things up, and nobody, in the end, nothing gets done.
Yeah, I would say it's probably harder to find multiple than one. So
Well, it's the different groups of people, like simple programmer, a player, and someone else in a different department. And then it's combined knowledge. They can steer the group.
yeah, I don't know. If someone finds a solution, then sure.
Yeah, we'll look around. I'll have a chat with Joker, Arctic, Brett. We'll
I
see
have
what we can do.
also some other ideas. Someone like what's his name? Radar,
Oh.
potentially.
Oh.
What?
Radar?
You don't like Radar?
I don't think I know Radar.
He seems to have time, and he has game knowledge, and he knows enough about the game that I think, and he's also quite professional. So I think he would be a good person if he's willing. That's a big question if he's willing.
Maula, what are you working on the next weeks, if you know?
Well, I think what I was going to do was actually finally get that pathfinding crash fix PR finished and look at starting to get that reviewed. Beyond that, I hadn't really considered what to look at too much next. I was kind of helping sort out some of the network issues and then get some of those things ported back into the Super Hackers client from helping out with Go. So yeah, it's a little bit up in the air at the moment.
That's one of the things I did bring up. I don't know necessarily. I mean, it won't be retail compatible, but if we were to launch with some sort of limited features to have like more than 8 people in a LAN lobby, that would also bring some attention.
Wait, more than 8 people?
Yeah.
I think at this point in time, that's going to have too much complexity. We already have networking problems on Go as it is with 8 people. And so basically I can't remember what it is. It's something like n multiplied by n minus 1 number of connections that you have in peer-to-peer. So it just increases the complexity of having to synchronize with more people once you go beyond 8.
Yeah, but
hey man, 128 players. Where it's gonna happen, okay? We're gonna stay motivated, okay? Gotta do it.
The reason why I bring it up now is like if you were to showcase something like that at Outpost Live, that would bring attention, right? Because that's something you can actually see, and the LAN environment of Outpost Live is actually ideal for such a thing.
Oh yeah, no, I get something like that.
Yeah, if you're going to showcase something, it needs to be something that people will immediately recognize as an upgrade. And that is going to be pretty hard to do. So yeah, the best thing I think is just like one of those DEF CON Mayhem games with like 8 people or something. And then you do one showcase like that. And then it's like, wow, it doesn't crash. It's super stable. Oh my God, that's so amazing, you know? And then people will be happy and they'll talk about it. Because I guess that's also one of the aims, right? But yeah, if it just feels the same as a normal game, then it's like if it looks and feels and people can't even tell the difference, then it's not exactly good, I think.
Oof. I don't know. Do we really have this impression it needs to have a killer feature to be marketable?
No, not necessarily marketable, but just like to get people hyped and excited about, stuff like that. I think it needs to somehow be separate from the game, like as people know it now, right? There needs to be a jump a jump forward.
Well, we have
Maybe showcase some of the bugs being fixed, because like I sometimes see on like the game code issues like being closed, and some of them are like useful bugs, like selecting worker or sometimes unselecting them, like showcasing these kind of stuff that are fixed.
Yeah, it's a lot of small things that just all add up. Yeah, I mean, no one is getting excited if you say we fixed this one issue, but it's also the volume of things that get fixed, right? So, I mean, the retail game, it has thousands of issues in different departments, right? So there are some most of them are minor, right? But there are also a lot of criticals and majors. And I would say like 50% of them are in code and the other half is in data. And so this huge volume of issues, once all these things get fixed, like it just makes the game a better experience as a whole. Like maybe you don't see it like consciously, but like people will recognize when they play, and things are crashing less, the performance will be better, it will look prettier, and less input bugs and control bugs and gameplay bugs, right? So people will recognize that, I think, when they engage with it, that it's a much better experience. I think so. Yeah, is it so marketable? Maybe it's not so easy. Like if you had like a nice graphics update and it would look like Unreal Engine 5, then it's easier to market this. And I mean, this is what the big games do, right? They always strive for the greatest graphics to showcase their games, right? So yeah, but I think players who know generals, they will appreciate the work that is being done. Yeah.
I was just thinking one thing that can be kind of demonstrated, which does put the Super Hackers, or will eventually put the Super Hackers client ahead of the retail client, is lower latency over network games and better responsiveness because of it. And those are tweaks which can come along sooner than later. And they do work now, even with retail games. I've had people trying out some test clients where they've had network latency nearly half of what retail will go down to, and the game is considerably more responsive, similar to Go, but not as good for various reasons. So in some ways, people could be playing it, and it would be a very noticeable difference at that point in terms of performance and responsiveness.
But there's also like the issue that people won't notice these fixes unless like we play the game like Legionnaire said, the max 6-player DEFCON, that everyone maxes out their units. Because the only thing people notice when there is a mismatch or when there is a crash, and like unless they play these long games and drawn out games and there is no crash, will they actually notice the fix? Because like the Generals Online fix, the responsiveness, people notice that kind of stuff, and stability. You have to push the game to its edge, to notice it.
I have a solution. We need to make a demo map where everybody already spawns with a full DEFCON 6 base, right? Huh? So it's FFA, but you spawn with like whole base
Shoot,
already.
man.
That way it will actually get faster to the point where it's supposed to mismatch.
Have you played the latest Mayhem map? You'll build it instantly. Just start it with 50k. That's you're there.
We could do that as well. Yeah, just give them 50k on Mayhem. Yeah, also works.
50k on Mayhem, man.
So one test for that, I can get the couple of people to try that map on Go and see how stable it is. According to Daniels, they've got something like a 99% uptime on games and very few, if any, crashes in game itself.
Well,
Sounds
last
good.
thing we'd want is, I think, the game to crash while it's live on playing Defco Mayhem.
Oh yeah, yeah. It would need to be play tested. Here, I found here. This is Mayhem.
Well, I guess the one example would be you have two teams with a mix of super hackers, patch players, and retail, and the game will eventually get to the point where the game would crash on retail, but the super hackers players continue playing.
Does Generals Online already ship the pathfinding fixes?
Yeah, that's already integrated, but they're running the non-retail compatible version of it.
Yeah, okay, because then we wouldn't be able to showcase the super hackers build directly at Outpost Live with this, because even if you get to the point where the game would mismatch, everything will stop moving, which will kind of still suck.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a bit of a engine and pathfinding limitation that we kind of hit when the game doesn't crash because of pathfinding.
Yeah, that's something we unfortunately can't do anything about until we break retail compatibility.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why I think showcasing it is going to be difficult. And with interviews, it's just going to be a lot easier to just discuss the things that are better and what people can expect and what we're going to be doing next and things like that. But again, it's just my opinion. If you have a good idea of how to showcase it, of course, we're always all ears. But I think just having two machines for people to play on and just play a LAN game or something, it probably won't have much of a result or won't have much of an impact. But anyway, guys, it's a bit late for me. I gotta go. So yeah, if there's anything else, then please do let me know later. So bye bye. See you.
Bye bye.
Cool. Cheers, sir.
From my point of view, I don't think we need to be too worried about showcasings. We just keep on working and improving the game, because that's really all that matters, right? And when we just put the work out there, we make it as easy as possible to access and make sure that it works without problems. And then we help people to discover it, word of mouth and making videos. And I can also put the Gentoo ticker message that people can read. So like there are ways to reach players also in forums and Discord servers, right? So there are ways to reach out. And then it's just a matter of like letting the people know, and they need to make the switch themselves. Like we don't push anything to anyone, right? So, but we also don't need to worry really. Like it's not like we are missing sales or anything, right? We're not getting any revenue out of this. So if players don't adopt immediately or ever, then that's fine as well, right? It's up to the players what they want to do.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's just that a lot of people, the reason why I brought it up is a lot of people keep asking about the progress, right? So might be, I was thinking, oh, well, we could just show them, but I guess from the average person's point of view, what would they be seeing? I guess I kind of get Legionaire's point about that as well.
Yeah, we currently don't do a great job at presenting progress and estimations and release schedules. Like all this is like we have a lot of information in the GitHub pages, right? There is infinite amount of information, but it's just really not digestible. But even if we would summarize like all the changes, and that is also a lot. So player facing, like a patch probably needs like 3 sentences to describe the gist of it, right? For the simplest minded player, right? So I mean, for our first release, that's like a stability, less mismatches, and some other things, right? So these would be the highlights, and I think that's probably good enough. And then just time needs to pass, and people need to adopt, and we just keep building. And so I don't think we need to worry too much about this. just we probably need to be better at like presenting the work to the player when it matters. Yeah, which we currently don't do because we don't have a release.
Yeah, but
I hope we
most
can
of
get
these
to.
issues are also like too low level, like on GitHub and like the issues, the pull requests. Some of these fix like low level issues, and some of them together fix one big issue. And there's no like high level overview or like the roadmap or timeline where people can also look and see this has been fixed now. This concept or this feature has now been implemented. So I think it's also like the kind of the responsibility of the group or people that's gotta manage the development and bring it to the general public.
I think in GenHub itself, it would be a great way to present the contents of the products, right? So that the product display has some page where the developer can put some information about the products, and to be able to decorate the products in good ways in GenHub, because that's what the player will interact with. So if we get the player to subscribe to a publisher, then I think that's already a big step. And then we present the product in there. And yeah, so we probably still need like a web presentation for GenHub and community page. But then once the players are in this ecosystem, then this will be the main focus to present new things, updates, and so on, like change logs and so on, right? Yeah. So I don't know what the current state of the UI is on GenHub. I think it would be nice to have a meeting and take a look at the status quo and talk about next steps for that, and brainstorm maybe a bit if needed. Yeah, because I mean, in the end, this will be the place where the players will engage with the products. So,
I did put like a meeting up for tomorrow regarding the GenHub developers and every contributor we have. So far, I think there are like 7 people signed up for tomorrow evening. In total, I had 12 or 13 people sign up to Legionnaires Call. We have half of them sign up for the meeting, and I think I'll know after tomorrow how many we will have, but it's going to be a little bit of brainstorming and then seeing how many people we have to assign some tasks, or like if people want to work on some other features.
oh, that
Tomorrow
sounds
is
good.
going to be evening.
What is the time?
5 GMT, it's 7 in Europe time. GMT plus 2.
Okay,
7.
then I will also try to attend that. I didn't know. Yeah, maybe we should also do a better job announcing those meetings. Yeah.
Yeah, I only tagged the GenHub contributors, but that's I could have just tagged the other roles as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think also a goal we need to have and complete is weekly releases on our GitHub. That has been in limbo since many weeks now, from F Bratz also. Yeah, so that would be great to get done. And then at least we have on GitHub some releases that we can refer the people to until they adopt GenHub, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm too occupied. I can't attend these CI thingies, and so we would need also someone who is more engaged in all this building.
Initially, I had time to look at that stuff, but I am looking a lot at stuff for Outpost Live at the moment. So I'll try to find some time, but it's tough.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah. So it's mostly the reviews from F. Bratz 3 or so, and there are also changes from Alien Droid. And all of these changes, I tried to look in things, but yeah, it's when it touches CI, it's not my level of expertise really.
I'll try to find some time to look at it probably next week somewhere. Maybe even tomorrow, but it really depends how my day goes.
Yeah. Then we also still have some old reviews from Helmut pending. I think he has 2 more reviews in regards to something about the replay stuff, playback with JSON files or something, or CSV files, I don't know. So that has not been worked on for a while. Yeah, we have way too many open pull requests.
Yeah, I'll go through tomorrow or next week. Anything that seems relevant for me, I'll try to clean up.
Yeah, it will be hard to clean up all these pull requests because it's just probably many outdated things, and I think 20 of these are drafts, which never get done. Yeah, it's not as bad as the patch repository, which has over 200 pending pulls, but it's getting there, right? Yeah. I think so right now we are not touching any data, which is good because I think we are busy enough with code as is. But once we get back to data, we need to have some meetings and talk about next steps there. Because I'm not so sure if the whole setup of how we have it in the current repository of the patch is the way that we should continue. Maybe we should restart the whole effort and build it up again from the ground with a clean start, which would be a lot of work, but it would allow us to like build it more clean. Yeah, I mean there are clean. Some things are clean, but there's also a lot of dirt in this repository. It has a lot of baggage by now, so maybe it would be worthwhile to rethink the approach there and redo it, and maybe then get some INI modders who actually care for it as well. We did have in the past there were people actively building for it. Komi too. Stubiax as well, and maybe some other Jundi, some changes here and there. But yeah, it's like we probably it's I think it's hard to. I think what's probably painful for many people is that we have like these reviews, right? And the reviews they take a lot of effort to get right, to make the reviewer happy. So that's probably a big barrier for people who just want to who just want to tinker or go fast, right?
I guess some of the other sides of the data patch is kind of classifying what the fixes are and whether those things can be fixed in code now instead of data.
Yeah, there are certainly a lot of data specific bugs, but yeah, I would say I don't think there's too many things that we made workarounds for in data that need to be fixed in code instead. It's probably a handful, but it's not the majority. The majority are things that are very specific to data and that are indisputable bugs. And then, of course, there are many things that are controversial, and then there are some gameplay changes. Yeah. So we probably need to like split these things into different pieces where we have like a core patch, which does all the hard cut things that need to be fixed. And then these profiles that are slapped on top that the game can optionally load, where gameplay related things would happen or controversial bug fixes would happen. And if we separate the development like this, then it becomes more modular and easier for people to opt in or opt out of the things that they like and create their own variants of it, right? Because I think in the end, the way I see it going forward is that people want to have some level of autonomy of how they want to play the game. The same way they play with different maps, right? Or DEFCON matches or Twilight Flame matches or the ranked maps, right? So people want to have some kind of configurability. So we need to cater to this, which was historically not done in patch. A patch went into one fixed direction. Yeah. So I think that needs to change, and that requires changes. And that will be painful to build. Yeah. And then we have the mod builder thing. We didn't have any Python developer. There was one guy who was writing, yeah, I can take a look, but of course he never came back.
Ideally, mod builder gets expanded as well to support generating a GenHub manifest, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it should just be one click, build the whole mod, build also code as well, everything. So right now what it does, it builds all data, right? Only. It cannot build code yet, so that needs to be done. Yeah, it needs to build the manifest as well, of course. Yeah. So one click and everything is built. It's clearly built for it, and it does work, but I'm not happy with the way that the Python program is deployed. It's really shitty. I would wish that we have a Python programmer who can unscrew this mess and make it all easy peasy, and in a way that we can easily put mod builder into any project, and it's easily maintainable. Right now it's very, very complicated. Like it packages like a 7-zip file, and inside is a frozen build of this Python program, and it's super huge. It's a horrible distribution. Python itself, it's slow. I did optimize the program as far as I could. Basically, what bogs down in the end is like if it does too many file accesses, then disk access obviously is then slow. So I reduced this as much as I could. I think Python itself does have a lot of overhead, but I think the build times are okay the way it runs. Obviously, the bigger the project becomes, the longer it would take. But I think last time I checked, the whole thing takes 6 minutes to build for all languages on my machine. So if we add code on top, then that would be double or so, right? Yeah. But it does have functionality for incremental builds. So if you just change one ini file, then it builds pretty fast. So it's only fresh builds that take so long. But yeah, we need a maintainer who can take care of it, because otherwise it takes my time as well then, again. Yeah. And I would hope that I don't have to maintain it. But yeah, if we don't have a person who does it, Well, we need a person like, so Python is like a very popular language, right? It probably still has the most users. I don't know, but yeah, so Python is great. It's easily accessible and has many users, easy to use, but it's slow, and the deployment is not so great in my opinion. So I mean, there's also the choice of porting it to a different language, right? Make it a C# or C++ app, but then this requires rebuilding the whole thing, or maybe an AI can do it. Put it into AI and ask it to take this project and rebuild it in C# or so. Yeah, see what happens. Probably buggy. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, this needs attention once we get back to data, the mod builder. But I'm more worried about the patch project itself. If we restart it from the ground up, then it would have the benefit of getting rid of all the baggage and with a super clean history and all the lessons learned from the first build up. But yeah, the problem is that this repository already has over 1,700 commits. So going through all this and reapplying it will be a lot of work, right? So yeah.
Can the patch currently not be applied as is? Like if we release like a separate under like publisher community outpost an add-on called the community patch, and can people then directly play it if we have ways of implementing it?
I don't understand the question.
The general game patch currently it has fixes to any textures and some code, not just any related stuff. Like, can we already apply all those changes if we make it like an add-on under a publisher?
Oh yeah, it is usable. Yeah.
So then, what do we gain from remaking it? Just the history of restructure it correctly?
Basically getting rid of all the baggage, clean history. So right now in the history, there's a lot of stuff in there that wouldn't be necessary anymore. Now with all the lessons learned and with the source code we have now. So there's that. So like the history is already quite big. Then there's a question of like making it more modular. So instead of cramping everything into one repository, have it more spread out into multiples and use submodules. For like, so for example, you could put textures and models into one isolated repository and then link them into the main repository. Same for audio. You could isolate audio entirely and maps as well, maybe. So yeah, so there's this concern, like the more we add to this repository, the more it will grow. Right now, I think it's 800 megabytes or so. So like it will grow the more revisions it sees, especially on the textures. They're quite big. And yeah, so the history, like the project had a very messy start. So the first 100 commits or so, there's quite some chaos. There's some non-linear history, and there were changes in there which are now like balance changes which are no longer part of the game at all, because it started with some established changes from another project as a baseline, but then we figured that we don't want that, right? And also the way that all the projects files were added were quite a bit chaotic. Like there was like one change which changed some ini files, but then also added a lot of other ini files in the same way. So like there's no like clean, okay, add all the original files and then just build on top. But it's just like a bit of a mess because files were added one after another, and it's very strange. Yeah, I mean, it's not the end of the world. The project works as is, right? But yeah, it's not particularly clean. Yeah. The way we build now our code is way cleaner than how we built the patch in the early days. Yeah. So I'm pretty happy with the patch build up currently. It's if we don't have any baggage in there, and the history is super clean.
For the first release, though, it doesn't still have to be decided which fixes are gonna be, like from the game patch, gonna be taken over into the first release.
None. So patch, we don't do any data changes for first release. We can't use the patch as is. First, it has way too many controversial changes in main branch currently, and second, it has way too many changes which breaks retail compatibility, right? There are over 500 or so that break retail compatibility, and so disabling all that is just way too much, right? So it's not feasible. So I would say going to data is probably best after we consciously break retail compatibility, because then we have much less headache and we can just build, right? But yeah, I'm not so worried about this. I'm really worried about like restarting this thing from from scratch. Yeah. But yeah, I don't want to worry about this right now. I just want to focus on patch, so on codes. So yeah, let's not
I
worry
think
about
after
that.
the first release, we can start thinking about the balance patch, the game patch. I mean, about what to do with that, because then maybe there's more ideas about how to implement, and maybe there's like more progress on when to break compatibility.
Okay. Well, do we have any actionable items from this meeting? A lot of talk, but we are not the wiser right now, right?
I guess the action point that we kind of got out of this was we need to find a project manager.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll look at that with Leggy next week as well.
Mhm.
I have a candidate in mind. Leggy has some ideas. We'll try to invite them for the next meeting.
Yeah, as I said, I think the main driver will be someone who's passionate about the game and about development. Yeah, and has the time. If you find someone like this, then it's good. The rest will come on its own. I mean, we won't make it hard for someone to onboard if he has good intentions, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I have some ideas for people. I'll try to involve Legionnaire and find someone.
Yeah. From my side, like I'm typically not spending much effort at all in like onboarding people specifically if they reach out, because my assumption generally is that people have some intention to be interested, but they don't follow up necessarily. Like, so the common case is that people don't follow up on what they initially intended to do, right? So it just fizzles out because they have other priorities, which is logical, right? People have things to do, and the game is not priority number one, right? So
And the other thing I also realize is most of the competent people, they onboard themselves. So
true. Yes. Yes. So yeah, maybe it won't do anything to reach out to people, because if they were interested, maybe they would have already come, right? Yeah. I mean, we have people who are engaged with development, right? It's not like that it's a wasteland. But of course, it always helps if there are more people doing things, right? The status quo is that there is still a mountain of work, and seemingly it doesn't get less, right? So if we had an army of developers, then obviously that would be greater. But I'm already happy with the way things are, and because if I just look back 6 months ago, before source code, it was night and day. I mean, there was nothing going on, right? It was at the time developers tried to do things, and the patch was snailing. so I think the last 5 months we already did a lot of good things. Okay, so any other topics? Everyone already asleep. Okay, good. Then I will drop out. Wish you a good time and great success. Maula, I wish you great success with whatever you want to tackle. And
Cool.
Undead, I root for you that GenHub becomes the best program ever made.
For sure.
Besides General's game client, of course, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Okay,
definitely.
good. Then have a good time.
Yeah. See you later. Have a good one.
Bye bye.
See ya.